What we're looking at in Module 9 is discovering evidence of my emotional life scene. And before you begin this chapter, you should have read, or this module, you should have read chapters 21 and chapters 22 from my book, L.S.I Investigation, The Forensics of Purpose, Passion and Performance. One of the things we want you to do today as well is to go to Psychology Today, to their website again, and take the test on emotional intelligence. Your emotional life scene is to be defined by how emotionally intelligent you are. And so we're going to be looking for evidence of emotional intelligence. And we do that in a number of different ways. On page 27 and 28, we ask you to look at different pieces of evidence. Again, this is just a really quick exercise, trying to get you focused on, this is a life scene. Remember the yellow tape? Life scene, cross here, as opposed to crime scene investigation, do not cross. We're asking you to cross. We're asking you to cross with a sense of exhilaration, a sense of discovery, a sense of excitement. Because what we're looking for, again, is not what's wrong, but what's right. Remember as well to read the Lockhart principle. Each of the Lockhart principles have been adapted to the different life scenes. When we looked at physical evidence, we adapted the Lockhart principle to physical design. And in this one as well, in emotional evidence, we've adapted it to that as well. So we talk about how this evidence does not forget. It doesn't forget about the excitement. It doesn't forget about when and how you reacted when you were treated badly. It talks about how you reacted in a crisis well and how you took control. It talks about when someone hurt you but you didn't retaliate and hurt them back. That's emotional intelligence. So again, we're looking for the very best of who you are. On page 28, you have those 6 different boxes again, and we're asking you just to write down very quickly trace evidence, things that are very obvious, things that have been seen and observed in your life over the last 2-3 days and maybe a week. One of the ones that you need to write about, it talks about ignition trace. Ignition trace simply means what are the things that really get you excited in life? The things that ignite you. That talks about strength, the things that really draw you up and make you jump up in life and really, again, as we say, ignite you. It's a little different from ecstasy. Ecstasy is really, what do you do when you've achieved something great? When you've done something at the end of a process and you just feel so elated and so happy you're done with it. And then you have some of the other ones there when we talk about gratitude and agony and crisis and how you react to all those, but how you react and how you behave in a good and a right manner. We have a number of boxes there which talk about all the different types of emotions, and we list probably 100 there. And then we also talk about the flow formula. Remember we talked about the flow formula when we looked at the 10 discovery questions. And hopefully by this stage of the process, you've learned a lot more about flow. You've been able to observe flow in your life in different ways. On page 31 is a great exercise that maybe you can journal. You can just take a couple of pages in your journal and use this little template of satisfaction and gratitude. And as you go through each day, is to remember, is to highlight, is to think about the things that when you were done with them, or even when you were in the process of doing them, you just had a sense of gratitude. The things that for which you were satisfied at the end of the process as well. Not a sense of, I never want to do that again, but you know what? I accomplished this and it was good. And I was so much part of the process. I was integral to the success of this project or this process. So think about those things again in terms of emotion. And again, write down, as we've asked you to do in that final little matrix, about those emotional capacities that really stand out in your life. Those things that have been observed by witnesses, that you've observed, that other people have said, that's just incredible. Those things that were easily processed in your life, those things that easily happen in your life, that were easily repeated, those things that you experience flow in. So think about emotional capacity. And I want you to think about as well, there's a whole new part of psychology that we call positive psychology. Positive psychology is about positive emotion. It's not about depression and anxiety, it's about happiness and it's about joy. And so when we look at your life scene, that's exactly what we're trying to find. It's the positive psychology. We're not trying to study depression and how not to be depressed. We're studying about happiness now. What are the elements of happiness? So I can repeat it, that I can seek it, that I can do things that result in happiness. And really fundamentally, the basis of all of positive psychology is really what we call strengths. That is, we know that when we discover and we live strengths and we give them, we include them in other people's lives, we are positive, we are happy, we are satisfied, we are grateful, we are thankful. And so take the emotional intelligence test, write it down, part of the evidence, and let's get to following through. What are some of the follow-through applications from emotional design? Think about when you were happiest. Think about when you were sad but you reacted in a good way. Journal about those things. Journal about these different experiences in your life. Look at other people. See how they react in a good way. When someone's at Starbucks and drops a cup of coffee and doesn't throw a fit, but just laughs and goes back and says, hey, can I have another cup? That's emotional intelligence. It's when a child comes back and gives you bad news that you don't fly off the handle, but that you learn to listen, that you take control of the situation, that your emotions are not just three different ways and three different levels and going crazy all the time. How did you react in an appropriate way, in a way that really just defines the very best of who you are? So there are 6 different exercises that you can look at, and lots of different little formulas and lots of exercises that you can work through them, journal through them, and think about again, what's in my emotional life scene? What defines me as the very best of who I am? Probably the most important exercise in the emotional life scene exercises is one called My Gratitude Log. And you've got a whole page. You can just tear it out the book if you want to, or just draw some lines and draw the little template into your journal. And write about what are the things that you're grateful for. Talk about the who was involved. Who did something for you that you were grateful for? Who is it that you did something for them, that you were grateful that you had the opportunity to be part of their lives? What is it that you did, or what is it that they did for you? Write it down. When did it happen? That's forensics. Forensics is history. It's a place and time in history. It's why. Why did they do it? And you've got the little template, and it's not hard to use. And then what is your response when someone did something really great for you? How did you respond in terms of gratitude? What we know as well is that when we take the time to say thank you for the things that are done for us, when other people use their strengths in our lives and give those strengths to us, there ought to be a response. Take some time this week to say thank you. Email 3 or 4 people. Text 3 or 4 people. Write a letter to 3 or 4 people. Give 3 or 4 people a call. It's amazing when you take the time to be grateful, when you take the time to do a little forensic analysis on something that happened that made a difference in your life, and you can articulate that, you can communicate it back to the person who did it, it'll change the way that you feel as well. So take these exercises, use them. Use them as every part of your life, not just for a week, not just for this module, but make them an integral part of your life.